welcome to this video on negative numbers. We will in this video we will cover a recap of positive numbers on a number line. I'm pretty sure you've all met positive numbers before. We will discuss what is a negative number. We will look at negative numbers on a number line, how to order negative numbers, and how to add and subtract with negative numbers. Let's get started. So let's look at positive numbers. Now, we all know what a positive number is. It's anything that is to the right of 0 on a number line. We've all seen these before, and I'm sure you've all seen a number line before too. What we're going to do here is we're going to look at what is the missing number. Now, first thing that we need to do is look at the gap between each of our lines. Gap between this bar and this bar. What's the gap? Well, the gap is 1. So we've got to work out what is in between 16 and 18. Well, 1 on from 16 is 17. So our missing number is 17. We've got another number line here, and we're also going to be looking at the missing numbers on this line. This time, as you'll notice, the scale is different. Now, the scale is the word used to describe what we increase by. So from one bar to the next, in this number line, we are increasing by 10. So we've got to work out what's the difference between 40 and 60. What is going to go in this line? Well, we can see that we're increasing by 10 this time because 30 to 40 is an increase of 10. And that means that from 40 to this line is 50. Now, we are going to do the same for this bar. 60 on to the next line is 70. 80 onto the next line is 90. We've got another number line here, and we're going to work out the missing numbers. Pause the video and have a go for yourself. Our answers are 14, 24, 34 and 36. If you'll notice on this number line, we're increasing by 2 each time. So we've gone 12 to 14, 22 to 24, 32 to 34 and then 34 to 36. That was the end of our recap on positive numbers. We're now going to think about negative numbers. We have been used to our numbers starting on number line at 0 and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to infinity. But that's only half the story. There are positive numbers. They are to the right of 0 on our number line, and we call them the positive numbers because they have an invisible add sign in front of them. We choose not to put an add sign next to them because if we see a number that doesn't have a sign next to it, we know it's positive. However, that's not the whole story, because our number line goes past 0 and we can go to the left of it in a mirror image. So where we would count to the right, going 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, we go to the left and we count away. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9 and so on, all the way down to negative infinity. Now, you guessed it, these are our negative numbers, and that's because we have a negative sign in front of them, and you might know it as a minus sign. We call these our negative numbers. Now, our negative numbers look fairly like our positive numbers. The only difference is this negative sign. And as I said before, if we wanted to, we could put a positive sign in front of our positive numbers, but we choose not to. Now, we're going to have a scale here. We're going to start at 0. And we're going to think of this as our ground level. Now, when we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, all the way up until we can get to infinity, we're going to imagine that we're in a plane and we're going to take off the runway. And as we're getting higher and higher, our numbers are getting higher and higher. We're getting a bigger and bigger number, and it's more positive. Now, you're used to comparing numbers. If I said to you, what's bigger, 30 or 40, you'd be able to tell me that 40 is the bigger number. Now, when we go the other way, we go to our -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, and so on, all the way down to negative infinity. We are thinking about swimming deeper and deeper under the sea. Our ground level is our 0, and we're going to swim under the sea with all those lovely fishes, and we're going to become more and more negative. Now, on that note, we're going to look at our scale again. And this time, we're going to be going underwater. But there's a trick with negative numbers, because where with positive numbers, as we move further and further away from 0, we get a bigger number. With negative numbers, as we're moving away from 0, we're getting a smaller number. So if I was to say to you, what's bigger, -15 or -5, the answer would be -5, because -5 is a bigger number. Now, that's because if you think about it, when we count away, we count right, or in this case, up our number line, our numbers are getting bigger. But if we count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, they're getting smaller. Now, if we're going to count to the left of or downwards on our number line, our numbers are increasingly going to get even smaller. So -6 is obviously going to be smaller than -3 because we've moved more places down. Now, this is the case all the way down to negative infinity. And it's really important that we try to remember that. Now, you might think that 0 is nothing, so how can we have a smaller number than 0? But that's why it's important to remember that when we're counting above or to the right on our number line, our numbers are getting increasingly larger. Now, if we count downwards or we count left on our number line, then our numbers are getting smaller, and that's how we can have a number that's smaller than 0. Sometimes it can be hard to see that, but it's really important you get your understanding of that here and now. And if you need to, you can pause the video and rewind. We're now going to look at our number line, but this time we're going to think of it as a temperature scale. We're going to start with 0, which is where the water freezes and it's 0 degrees. It's pretty cold, and some of the days recently it's been pretty cold, like 0 degrees. Now, as we increase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, we're getting warmer, so our numbers are getting bigger. Now, if we go the other way, we're going to go below 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. We're using negative numbers, and we're getting colder because we're getting a smaller number. Now, if you think about this, if you was to go on holiday to Spain and see that the temperatures were 28 degrees Celsius, but then you'd come home and see that the temperatures were more like 15 degrees Celsius, you'd know that it's colder in England than it was in Spain, and that's because it's a smaller number. It's colder, and therefore our number is smaller in terms of temperature. And this is the same when we use negative numbers. Now, I could go to Alaska and it could be -30 degrees. That would be really cold, and it probably wouldn't be that cold. And then I could go to Siberia in Russia and find that it's -5. Now, that would mean that in Alaska it is -30, and in Siberia it's -5. Now, it would be warmer in Siberia than it would in Alaska, because -5 is a bigger number than -30. Now, we've been talking about positive and negative numbers, and mostly you'll deal with whole numbers, including 0, and we call these integers. Now, so let's take the number 3, and we have a minus sign in it. Now, minus 3 is an integer, and when we have a minus sign in front of it, we say negative 3. Now, this can also be written as with a bracket around it, and you might see some questions that write it this way. And this means that we are 3 less than 0, which is why we say negative 3. Or in words, we could say 0 minus 3 equals negative 3. Now, we're going to have a look at these numbers on a number line. Positive and negative numbers, as you already know, can always be shown on the number line. Let's look at this number line. We're going to start at 0. And to the right, we have our positive numbers increasing 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And to the left, we have our negative numbers. Watch out for that negative sign. And they are to the right of our 0. And as they move further away from the 0, they're getting smaller and smaller. And as we move further and further away from 0 on the right-hand side, our numbers are getting bigger and bigger. Now, let's take, for example, minus 3. And minus 8. Now, from what we've been talking about, we know that minus 3 is greater than minus 8. Watch out for these signs down here, because that means that minus 3 is greater than minus 8. Okay. Now, we're going to go back to our number line. 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 6 and down to minus 6. Now, you'll notice that on this number line, we've been increasing by 1 each time. And as before with the positive numbers, we look for the difference in each of these lines, and that's known as the scale. But as you notice with the positive numbers, this is not always the case. And over the next few slides, we're going to look at some negative numbers on the scale, and they might not always increase by 1. So let's have a look at this number line. Now, on this number line, we are increasing by a different number. Our scale has changed. The number line is increasing by a different number. So we've got to work out what's the difference between these two lines. Well, 0 to 2, that's plus 2. That's 2 to 4, that's plus 2. 4 to 6, that's plus 2. Well, our scale has changed on this number line to plus 2 for each of our bars. Over the next few slides, you're going to see some examples, and I'd like you to give them a go. This time, we have a new scale. The scale has changed again, and you've got to work out what is the number line increasing by this time. Pause the video and have a go, then press play. Okay, so in this number line, we've got to work out what our scale is increasing by. Now, to work out that, we have to work out what's the difference between our bars. Now, we're going to go from 0 to 5, we're adding 5. 5 to 10, we're adding 5. 10 to 15, we're adding 5. 15 to 20, we're adding 5. So we know that our scale is positive 5 this time. Now, what we've got to do this time is we've got to work out what the missing number on our number line is. We've got to use our knowledge of finding the scale and then apply that to be able to find the missing number. So the first thing that we need to do is find our scale. So let's start here. Minus 10 to minus 9. What's going on here? Now, remember earlier on, I said as we are moving to the right, our numbers are getting bigger. So that means when we go from minus 10 to minus 9, we are adding 1. So we are adding 1 here to go from minus 9 to minus 8. We're adding 1 here to go from -8 to -7. We're adding 1 here to go from -7 to -6. And then we've got to work out what we're going to do to get to this bar here. Well, we've been adding 1 all this way along, so I think that would be a wise option. -6 add -1 is -5. Here's one for you to try. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is work out the scale. Now, to work out the scale, we have to work out the difference in bars. So let's take -26 and work out what it does to get to the next bar. Well, we know that as we're moving to the right on our number line, our numbers are getting bigger. So we are adding 1 to get from -26 to -25. Then we are going to add 1 to get to -25 to -24, add 1 to get to -23, and then we need to add 1 and we get -22. If you didn't get that right, rewind and have a go again. Okay, so now we're going to look at ordering some negative numbers. We can always use our number line to help us write integers. Remember, integers are whole numbers and they can be positive or negative on our number line. So we are being asked to write the integers -2, 8, 2, -6, -9, and 5 in order from smallest to largest. Now, we've got our number line here. What we're going to do, first of all, is we're going to label our numbers on the number line. So -2, we've labelled that with an arrow. 8, we've labelled that with an arrow. 2, we've labelled that with an arrow. -6, -9, and 5. Now, we've got to go from smallest. If we recap to what we said earlier, as we move to the left of the 0, our numbers are getting smaller. And as we move to the right, our numbers are getting larger. And that's something really important that we need to remember here. And by putting our numbers on our number line, labeling them with our arrows, we have been able to answer this question. Because our smallest number is -9, because it's the one that's most to the left on our number line. -6 is the next largest, then -2, then 2, then 5, then 8 is our largest number because it is the furthest number to the right. And that means that it's the biggest number. So the integers are in order are -9, -6, -2, 5, and 8. Okay, so now we're going to look at some more negative numbers on the number line. We previously discussed this, but which is colder, -5 or -2, and why? Pause the video and have a think. Okay, so our answer is -20, and the reason for this is that -20 is further to the left on our number line, which means it's a smaller number, and the smaller numbers are colder than the larger numbers. So -5 is a larger number than -20. Now, you're going to have a set of numbers here, and I'd like you to give them a go and ordering them, starting with the coldest. Pause the video, then press play when you're ready. Okay, so we need to order these numbers starting with the coldest. The first thing that we should do is we should label our numbers on our number line. I hope that you've done that. Then our numbers that are furthest away from the 0, in this number line, the ones that are below 0, or if we had a flat number line that went horizontal across the screen, then it would be the numbers to the left of the 0. So I hope you've labelled that, and that should have made it much, much easier, because the ones furthest to the left, or in this case, lower down, are going to be your coldest, and as we move up, 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 or to the right, our numbers are getting bigger, and so they're getting warmer. And so our answers have appeared on the bottom of the screen. Check that you got it right. -20, -15, -2, 5, 10, and 20. Now we've got time for a little quiz. After each one, press pause, have a think, write your answer down, and then press play to see if you got it right. Number 1. Which country is colder? Is it Russia or is it France? Press pause, write down your answer, then press play. The correct answer is Russia, because Russia is -1 and our other country is 5, and 5 is a bigger number than -1, and we wanted the colder number, so that's got to be the smaller number. So -1 is smaller than 5. Number 2, is the USA warmer or the UK? Press pause, write down your answer, then press play. Okay, so our answer is the USA, and this is because 8 is larger than our UK's temperature. It is higher up on our scale. Our orange has filled more of our temperature gauge than it did on our UK temperature gauge. Next one, is Canada warmer or Germany warmer? Canada and Germany. Write down your answers. Okay, so this was a little bit tricky because they're very close, but if you read carefully, you would have got the right answer to be Germany, because Germany is at -2 and Canada is -4, and -2 is a bigger number than -4, and that means that it's warmer. Next one, which one is colder? Is it Egypt or is it Norway? Write down your answers. Okay, so our answer is Norway, and this is because Norway is -7 and Egypt is 6 degrees, and 6 degrees is way warmer than -7 because -7 is so much cooler. Look, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 degrees colder in Norway than it is in Egypt. That's very cold. Next one. Which country is warmer? Is it Finland or is it Sweden? Write down your answers. Okay, so our answer is Sweden, because -4 is a larger number than -6, and that means that it's warmer. Next one. Is Estonia colder or is Netherlands colder? Write down your answers. Okay, so the answer is Estonia, because in Estonia we have -3 degrees, and in the Netherlands we have -2. Now, -3 is colder than -2 because -3 is a smaller number than -2. Okay, so now we're going to look at adding and subtracting negative numbers. I hope you enjoyed that little quiz. Now, we know that negative numbers are less than 0. And as with positive numbers, you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide them. Today, we're just going to look at adding and subtracting. Now, as we move to the right, we've said this several times already, and I'm sure you're fed up of me saying it now, but as we move to the right, our numbers are getting higher. And as we move to the left, our numbers are getting lower. So we move to the right when we want to add, and we move to the left when we want to subtract. If you need to write that down, please do, and remember that, because it will be very useful over these next few slides. Now, sometimes we can see two signs written next to each other. Now, I've got a couple of little acronyms here for you to remember: ASS and SID. Now, if the signs are the same, then what we need to do is add, because we see a minus and a minus next to each other, a plus and a plus next to each other. We need to replace both of them with a plus. So we would have -7 plus 5, which gives us -2, and -6 plus 1, which gives us -5. But if we see that the signs are different, we have a plus and a minus, or a minus and a plus, what we need to do is replace those signs with a minus. So we would have -12 minus 5, and that equals -17, and we'd have 26 minus 30, which is -4. Those are hopefully a couple of little acronyms that will hopefully help you to remember when we are adding and subtracting with negative numbers. Now, let's have a look at a couple of examples on this number line. -2 add -5. We're going to put a dot at -2. As you can see on the slide, -2 has been highlighted in orange, and we are going to count to the right 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so our answer is -3. Have a go at this next one. Press pause, have a go, and write your answer down. Then press play. Okay, so we're going to put a dot or change the colour at 5. And this time, because we're minusing, we need to move to the left. And we're going to move 8 places to the left. So let's do it. And the answer you should have got was -3. Did you get that answer? If you didn't, go back and rewatch earlier parts of this clip. Now, there are 2 more examples for you to have a go at. Have a go at this one. Press pause, have a go, then press play. Make sure to remember your rules from earlier slides. Okay, so we are going to change the colour of the -3. Now, we have 2 signs next to each other. They are different, and so Sid says that we must change these signs to a minus. And so our new question is -3 minus 4. And because we are minusing 4, we're going to move to the left 4 places. So you should have got -7. Okay, have a go at this next one. Press pause, have a go, then press play. Okay, so we're going to change the colour of our -4, or put a dot or put an arrow, whichever you prefer. Now, because we have 2 signs next to each other, and they happen to both be the same because we have a minus and a minus, then what do we need to do? We need to add same sign. So we need to put an add there. So -4 add 7. And because we're adding 7, we need to move 7 places to the right. And so we're going to move 7 places to the right, and we should get 3 as our answer. I hope that you did. Okay, so in today's session, we recapped positive numbers on a number line. We learned what a negative number is. We looked at negative numbers and using them on a number line. We learned how to order negative numbers, and we learned how to add and subtract negative numbers. If you're unsure of any of these, have a look back through the rest of the video and have a go again. In addition to this video, there are 6 tasks attached. If you would like to have a go at these, that would be wonderful, and there are answers so that you can check them. Also, if you require any further support, email me on the address on the screen, visit 129 Success on Facebook and give us a like and a share, and even a review, or visit our website where you'll be able to find even more information and more videos to help. Thank you for watching.